On October 12, 1972, a Uruguayan Air Force plane carrying 45 passengers, including a rugby team and their families, took off on a fateful journey. None of them could have predicted that this routine flight would become a desperate fight for survival. On October 13th, the aircraft encountered severe turbulence as it flew over the Andes. Unable to clear the mountain range, the plane crashed into the snow-covered peaks, tearing apart in the process. Of the 45 aboard, 33 survived the initial impact. As the survivors emerged from the wreckage, they were met with freezing cold, thin air, and severe injuries. The shock of what had just happened left them paralyzed with fear. With night falling, the survivors huddled inside the remnants of the fuselage. Temperatures plummeted, and without proper clothing, they faced the first of many deadly challenges: surviving the freezing night. By the third day, the survivors were desperate for food. They scavenged through the wreckage, but the supplies were limited. As hunger set in, the group was faced with a horrifying decision. On the 8th day, a portable radio brought devastating news. The search for the survivors had been called off. They were presumed dead. Now they knew they were truly alone. With no rescue coming and no food in sight, the survivors made an unimaginable decision. They would have to eat the bodies of those who had perished in the crash in order to survive. The first bite was the hardest. It was a decision no one wanted to make, but hunger had left them no choice. It was the beginning of an unimaginable chapter in their story. As the days passed, the survivors learned to cope with the horror of their situation. The human will to survive had pushed them to their limits, but their bond grew stronger in the face of the unthinkable. 10 days after the crash, just as they began to adapt, an avalanche struck, burying the fuselage and killing 8 more survivors. The remaining survivors fought to dig themselves out of the snow. With no hope left, 2 survivors, Nando Parado and Roberto Canessa, decided to risk their lives to find help. They set out on foot, armed only with makeshift supplies and sheer determination. After 10 days of grueling trekking, Nando and Roberto found a Chilean shepherd. This shepherd would change their fate, guiding them toward civilization and launching the rescue effort. 72 days after the crash, helicopters arrived to rescue the remaining survivors. Against all odds, 16 had made it. It was a moment of both relief and sorrow, as they left behind those who didn't survive. Once back in civilization, the survivors faced a media frenzy. Their harrowing tale of survival had captured the world's attention, but they also faced the stigma of the actions they had taken to stay alive. Decades later, the survivors reflect on their incredible story. Though haunted by their memories, they are proud of the bond they shared and the strength that kept them alive against all odds.